Hello sewing people of the internet. In this episode I'm going to show you all the materials you need for this backpack project, and I'm going to cut out all of the pieces. First I need to make some room though. Let's get started. So this is basically what you're going to need to make a backpack. You don't need the cat, it helps, but you don't have to have one. This is what you're going to need to make the exact backpack that I'm going to make in this tutorial, which is similar to the gray one that you've already seen. If you don't want to make exactly this backpack, then you may need to make some adjustments. My hope is that you will use this tutorial as a guide to make your own unique backpack and not a duplicate of what I've made. There are plenty of places you can substitute hardware or materials or change the design. I'll have links in the description below to where I got these materials so you can check them out yourself. First, this is the foam that I'll be using for the straps, and to provide padding in the back panel, and to provide padding for the laptop compartment. This is FY20 foam that I got from Outdoor Wilderness Fabrics. FY20 is a 2-pound density closed cell foam that can be used for structuring as well as padding. Outdoor Wilderness Fabrics sells FY20 by the linear inch, so a 40-inch wide roll you can buy 1-inch increments. Or if you buy a full sheet of 40 by 80 inches, they sell that at a discounted rate. The prototype backpack that you've seen already is my first time using this foam, and I really like it. It's got plenty of cushion for the straps and the back pad, but it's got a nice soft feel. Thanks, buddy. Outdoor Wilderness Fabrics sells FY20 in multiple thicknesses. I chose 1/4 inch. I think it's a good compromise to be thick enough to provide sufficient padding, but not be overly thick and cumbersome to sew. All right, so moving on to the fabrics. This isn't going to show up great on camera, but the exterior fabric for this backpack is black number 10 waxed canvas from Big Duck Canvas. Now, I was confused the first time I got involved with waxed canvas, and I ended up buying the wrong weight of canvas once, so let me try to help you out. And by the way, Big Duck has some great information on their website, so if you're thinking about doing some canvas stuff, check out their site for sure. One of the more common waxed canvases is 10.10 ounce waxed canvas. That's what I used for the greatest backpack ever made and for the messenger bag tutorial that I've done within the last couple of years. That's a great choice. It's a good durable fabric, but it's a little bit lighter and thinner than number 10. Number 10 equates to something like 15 ounce, I think. And it's considerably thicker and heavier feeling. So if you want that rugged, outdoorsy feel in your pack, then I think number 10 is the way to go. If you're concerned about your machine's capabilities to sew through many layers of number 10, or you just want a sleeker, lighter, less bulky feeling pack, then try 10.10 ounce. And now I'm stuck here. The reason I'm using waxed canvas is waxed canvas has been treated with wax to make it water resistant. I think that's really good for something like a backpack that you might be carrying items in that you don't want to get wet. If you get caught in a rainstorm or whatever, then your gear is protected. You could certainly make a bag out of unwaxed canvas, but then you run the risk of your items getting wet. I follow some people on Instagram that I've seen wax their own canvas, and that looks like it could be an interesting DIY project, but for me, I'd rather spend my time sewing than coating the fabric with wax. So for me, I'd rather just buy it. So the black number 10 wax canvas is the exterior. For the interior, I'm going to be using this orange 12-ounce unwaxed canvas. This is the same kind of canvas that is often used to make workwear, pants and jackets that you're all familiar with probably. I've said this many times before, but I really prefer using a bright color on the interior of a bag, especially a black bag. Just so you can see more easily into the interior of the bag. I have 1 yard of each of these fabrics. To make the backpack that I'm making, I needed some 1.5 inch flat nylon webbing. This came from Outdoor Wilderness Fabrics. I'm going to be using for the main closure of the pack, and it'll be secured by another awesome stainless steel Cobra buckle from AustriAlpin. The same 1.5 inch is also used to attach the straps to the back panel of the backpack. For the rest of the webbing for this project, I used 1 inch Mil-Spec 17337 flat nylon webbing. This is the webbing that I usually use for making PALs or Molly straps, and it's pretty much my go-to webbing for backpack straps. If you already have some other 1 inch webbing, then you don't have to buy this particular webbing, but this works really well with some of the hardware that you're going to see in a minute. I got this from Strapworks. If you need anything webbing related or hardware for webbing, Strapworks has pretty much everything, so definitely check them out. There's very little hardware in this backpack project. You'll need 2 tri-glides. Those are the strap adjusters that go on the bottom of the backpack straps. And then you'll need zipper sliders. One thing to note, you'll also need some zipper, and I'm using water-resistant zipper. If you're going to use water-resistant zipper, make sure that you get reversed zipper sliders. Regular sliders don't work the way they're supposed to on the water-resistant zippers, because water-resistant zippers go in inverted so that the water-resistant coating is to the outside. By the way, a lot of pack manufacturers these days are putting regular zippers on inverted, I presume just because it looks cool. And if you want to do that, you'll need reversed sliders to do that also. One of the more common questions I'm asked is regarding thread. And I almost exclusively use bonded nylon thread in size 69 or V69 or T70. There's like 4 different sizing conventions for thread, but this thread, and basically all the thread I've ever used, comes from the Thread Exchange. Not only do they sell all the thread you'll ever need, but their website is incredibly informative. So if you have questions about which thread to use for a particular fabric or particular project, that's where to go. They sent me a selection of V69 nylon thread that I'll be using in this project and many projects to come. One other note on thread. So this is a 4-ounce spool. This is an 8-ounce spool, just to kind of give you size reference. There's my 32-ounce Nalgene bottle. And if you are thinking of buying thread and you're accustomed to using the little home sewing machine spools, you can use these on any sewing machine. These thread stands are available at pretty much any fabric store, and they're cheap. I think I paid 12 or 13 bucks or something like that. I have like 5 of these things. So if you've never used these spools of thread, don't be afraid to buy them. These will last a good long time, which is nice when you're working on big projects like this. So if you've never used this style of thread to supply your machine, it works fine with one of these stands. This is all I use, and most of my machines are domestic machines, and it'll work totally fine. And lastly, unless I've forgotten something, which I probably have and I'll mention it later, if you want to do exactly the project I'm doing, then you'll need some inner tube to make the bottom panel and a couple of other small pieces out of. This is a motorcycle inner tube, and again, I don't know what kind of motorcycle it came out of. I just get them from a motorcycle shop so they don't have to throw them away. If you don't have a walking foot sewing machine, then you may not want to mess with this. I've not had any luck sewing it in a regular sewing machine, but if you know how to do it or have a method that works, have at it. You don't need this for the bottom panel. The wax canvas should be fine on the bottom of the backpack, or you can do something like Hypalon, which I think goes by a different name now, and Outdoor Wilderness Fabrics sells that stuff. There are a couple of different fabrics that might be a good choice for the bottom of your backpack, but I like using this because it's a cool way to recycle and it's got good water resistance. So I think that's all the materials. Now, let's get to cutting. So, not to beat the dead horse too much, but people frequently ask about patterns. Here's a pattern for the greatest backpack ever made, and I'll put a card to that video so you can see what I'm talking about. But there are lots of different size pieces and some strange shapes that it would be very hard for me to tell you without this pattern how to make this exact shape. So we're not going to do any of that with this pack because, as I said in the last video, it's only rectangle. So I can tell you to cut a 12" by 7" rectangle, and you're going to have a 12" by 7" rectangle. There's not really any need for you to have a piece of paper that's 12 inches by 7 inches to figure that out. You need a ruler. One other thing to note is these fabric pattern weights. I bought these from someone off Craigslist. I have no idea where you can get them, but you just need something that you can hold the fabric down while you're marking on it and cutting it. You could use scuba diving weights. You could use large washers. Anything that won't harm the fabric and will hold it in place while you're marking and cutting would be fine. So, as we continue with the video, I don't want you to be confused. I had to move this table to a different configuration. But don't be alarmed, everything's cool. I just had to make some room on the other side of the room. So now I'm going to show you every single piece that I've cut for the backpack. There's a possibility I've forgotten a piece or two. If I did, I'll mention it in the description below, and or I will put it in the next video. I actually prefer using the metric system most of the time. I kind of slipped back into the hard to break habit of using the imperial system for this, so that's what I'm using. If you're trying to make this pack and you need to convert to metric, you know, don't get hung up on it being exactly right. Get it close to a round number for you, and it doesn't matter if your pack ends up being a centimeter wider or narrower. It's not going to make that big of a difference. So first, let's look at the FY20 foam pieces. I have two pieces for the backpack straps, and I have two pieces, one for the back panel and one to separate the laptop from the main compartment. The pieces for the straps are 2 3/4 inches wide and 21 inches long. The two pieces for the back panel and the laptop compartment are identical in size. They're 10 inches wide and 17 inches long. Next, we look at the exterior fabric, and for me that's the black number 10 waxed canvas. Just for reference, I started with 1 yard of that fabric, and this is what I have left. If you're going to make this backpack essentially the same as I'm making in this video, I would suggest at least getting 1.5 yards, and maybe get 2 yards. If you have material left over, you can always use it to make accessory pouches or other projects. First up is the front pocket on the front of the backpack. And that's made up of two pieces, and there will be a zipper that goes between them. On the prototype pack, I put a storm flap over the zipper. On the tutorial pack, I'm going to be using a water-resistant zipper. I didn't use that on this pack. So just to keep it a little bit simpler, I'm not going to make this storm flap, but there's nothing particularly hard about this. You just need to make this piece wider than the dimensions I'm going to show here, and fold it over and so down the edge. If you can do the rest of this, you can probably figure this out. If you have problems, shoot me an email or make a comment and I'll try to help you out. So the main piece for the pocket is 9 inches high and 12 inches wide. And the top panel for the pocket is also 12 inches wide, and it's 3 1/4 inches in height. While we're on the front pocket, there's two pieces of fabric on the inside of the pocket, and I'm using the canvas that I'm using for the liner on the bag. And these two pieces will make a slip pocket behind, and then the panel on the front I'll sew in sleeves for pens and pockets for notepads and stuff. So both of these are 12 inches wide. The front one is 6 inches high, and the back one is 7 inches high. And both of these are going to get a hem folded in and sewn down, so they'll be a little bit shorter than those numbers when they're finished. I tried to limit myself to just the waxed canvas and the unwaxed canvas lining material for this project, However, for the back panel of the front pocket, I used 400 denier nylon pack cloth. I have a huge roll of this fabric. You could use the number 10 waxed canvas, but as you saw a minute ago, I don't really have enough left to make a panel this size. This is the panel that makes up the back of the pocket, and I do like using the nylon pack cloth because it makes it easy to like slide a book in or other items that you might slip in there, and it is somewhat water resistant. One thing to note about water resistance about this pocket is open, and any water that hits the pack is likely to go down in there, and it doesn't have any place to go. It could hypothetically soak through the waxed canvas. Waxed canvas is water resistant, but it's still going to soak water through it if it's in contact with it for a long enough time. If you are designing this pack with water repellency in mind and you want to make sure that none of your contents ever get wet and you can be out in rain for longer periods of time, you might consider leaving the bottom open either in sections or sewing in some mesh, or there's a number of things you could do. This design isn't specifically meant to be as water repellent as it could be, so just keep that in mind for your own uses. So this piece of 400 denier pack cloth is 12 inches wide. That should be no surprise by now. And it's about 12 and a quarter inches long. I made this a little bit oversized so I can just trim it to size after I put the zipper in. I could have done the math beforehand, but there's no real reason for me to hold myself to a super tight tolerance. The size of that pocket isn't all that important. So I'm just going to make the front panel with the zipper and then make this to size. The main compartment of the backpack, there's a front panel, a back panel, and a gusset. The front panel and the back panel are identical in size, and they are 20 inches high, surprise, surprise, 12 inches wide. If you haven't figured it out, the whole pack's going to be 12 inches wide as a starting dimension. Excuse me. Excuse me. Hi. Excuse me. Hello. You're not really helping. The gusset is 52 inches long. I don't have a ruler long enough to show that, but trust me, it's 52 inches long. And it is 7 inches wide. The liner for the backpack is exactly the same. Same front and back panel and the same gusset size. Completely identical. These two pieces are going to become the flanges at the bottom of the backpack straps to attach them to the pack. There are two of them, and they are 7.5 inches square. If you end up with enough material to make some that are 7 inches or some close size, it doesn't have to be that specific. This is just the size I'm using, but it could be anything close to that, but square is what you want. These two pieces are my bottle sleeves. This is for the elastic mouth pleated pockets that I am going to make on this pack, and they're identical to the ones that I made on the previous pack. In the next video, we'll talk about how you can make a simpler pocket if you don't need to carry a big 32-ounce Nalgene bottle with you. And these are 10 inches by 10 3/4 inches. This is just a mock-up I made of this strap. I'm gonna do the orange liner on the back side of the strap, the part that touches your body, and then the number 10 wax canvas on the exterior. You don't have to do this. You could use pack cloth like I did on the gray pack. You could use all waxed canvas. You know, it's whatever material you like that works best for you. Since this canvas, this orange canvas, is an apparel canvas, I thought it might be more comfortable, so I'm going to try it, but we'll see. So for my straps, I have 2 pieces of number 10 wax canvas and 2 pieces of the 12-ounce canvas. All 4 of these pieces are exactly the same size. They're 4 inches wide and 22 inches long. The last canvas pieces here are what I'm using for the extension collar, the roll top part of the roll top backpack. On the gray pack, I made it out of 1 piece, and I didn't use a liner. I only used the exterior fabric. But I didn't have a large enough piece of the right size to make a one-piece extension collar out of this black material. So what I decided to do was to make my extension in 4 pieces and to line it with the orange fabric. If you have enough material left to make the extension collar out of one piece, that's a lot easier to do, and you don't have to deal with a bunch of seams, and you don't have to line it if you don't want to. I just used a French seam on mine to conceal the raw edges. So just know this part isn't necessarily the way you have to do it. I just didn't have enough material. The front and back pieces of the extension collar are 12 inches by 11.5 inches. And then the 2 side pieces are 7 inches wide by 11.5 inches. I actually didn't even have enough material to make one of those side pieces, so I've got 2 pieces that are 4 inches, and I'm going to overlap them with a 1/2 inch seam and make another piece, so there will be a seam going down the middle. It's not ideal, most people probably won't notice, but that's what I have. And the dimensions for the liner are exactly the same as for the exterior. But wait, there's more. For webbing, I have 2 pieces that are about 2 inches, 2¼ inches long. They don't have to be super specific. These are going to make up the loops, the webbing loops that you can attach G-hooks to attach a removable hip belt if you choose to do that. You certainly don't have to do that, but if it's something you want to play with later on, you'll need these. All of the thinner webbing is 1 inch Mil-Spec 17337, and then the wider webbing is 1.5 inch nylon. This piece of 1 inch webbing is for the grab handle on the top of the pack, and it's 10 inches long. I have 2 pieces to make up the bottoms of the straps, also 1 inch, and these are 13.5 inches long. The 1 inch webbing that makes up the main shoulder strap that will go over the padded part of the shoulder strap, these are 23 inches long. And then I have a couple more pieces of 1 inch webbing. These are going to go across the straps. You can not have these, you can add more, whatever you like. These are 4 inches long. For the main closure, I'm using 1.5 inch webbing, and again using an awesome stainless steel Cobra buckle. The top strap is 8¼ inches or so. Again, this doesn't have to be super specific, and you may want to make it a little long and then see where you want the buckle to live most of the time, and then you can shorten it. Obviously, it's harder to make it longer than it is to make it shorter, so if you're going to cut this a little bit long. And then the main closure strap for the bottom of the strap is 27 inches long. Again, you can cut it a little long and shorten it if you need to. Finally, this 1.5 inch webbing is sewn to the back panel, and it's where the top of the shoulder straps will attach. I cut this about 13.5 inches long, and it's really, I mean, it's going to be across a 12-inch panel, but again, I cut a little long so I can shorten it when I'm ready. I also have some water-resistant zipper that I'm going to use for the front pocket and for the laptop compartment. I haven't yet cut this. This is an old piece that I ended up not using, but I haven't cut this to size. We'll do that when we start doing the assembly. I also haven't cut these yet, but I'll be making some tabs for the ends of the zipper, and we'll talk about that in the next video. There is one piece I did remember that I did not cut yet, and that is the panel that will divide the laptop compartment from the main compartment. I'm just going to use some of my 400 denier pack cloth because I have a ton of it. You could use the 12-ounce canvas if you're using these same materials. Using the number 10 wax canvas would be kind of an expensive fabric to use for just a simple divider, but if you have enough of it and you want to use it, go right ahead. So now you see just a few simple pieces are needed to make this pretty simple back. Okay, that's a lot of pieces, but you know, you cut out one piece at a time and Bob's your uncle, you got a backpack. In the next episode of this series, I'm going to show you how to put these pieces together into the various sub-assemblies, the front pocket, the back panel, the straps, etc., and prepare to assemble the backpack. If you're not already a subscriber, I'd love for you to subscribe to my channel. You might want to hit the notification bell so you'll be notified when the next episode hits. If you have questions or maybe a better idea on how to do some of these things, put them in the comments section down below. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.